The information society has grown so fast that it's full of vulnerabilities. Cybercrime is estimated to have cost Britain up to £27 billion last year, and the number of attacks on computer networks, over 50 million a year, is growing so fast that security experts are losing count.
The one thing that's absolutely sure is the threat is coming bigger and stronger.
The threat landscape has changed. We are in a state of compromise. The adversaries are here, they're in our networks.
The coalition government identified this threat as an urgent national priority and has tasked spy agencies like GCHQ to respond.
In 2010, the government promised to put cybersecurity at the centre of national defence and to spend £650 million doing that. Yet we've heard persistent reports that very little has actually been achieved yet. So is Britain any safer from cyber attack today than it was 3 years ago?
Some aspects of the economy and government, critical national infrastructure, are so important that the computers that run them can be intensely vulnerable. Estonian cash machines, Saudi oil terminals and a Syrian radar network have all been disrupted by cyber attack.
This is Telstra Global's London data centre, and here we host some of the UK and the world's critical national infrastructure. So for example, we've got logistics businesses, infrastructure, financial services, broadcasting. One of our customers conducts about $7 trillion worth of transactions every day from this facility.
For years, hackers have been stealing secrets, but now there are deeper concerns. 2 months ago, the Department of Homeland Security said it had tracked 23 attacks on the American gas pipeline grid. The intruders had been targeting the type of information that would have allowed them to blow up pumping stations and cause power cuts.
The threat landscape in 3 years, it's changed a lot. Now what we see is advanced threats, and advanced threats is a completely different ballgame. These attacks are very highly targeted, they're very highly funded, they know what they want, so they'll specifically target an organisation to do it. And typically they'll be after intellectual property, so it could be to gain competitive advantage, national security, it could be defence information, it could be a whole bunch of different things.
So what happened to the pledge of £650 million for cybersecurity? For months the answer seems to have been very little, according to one of the architects of government policy.
You had this initial explosion of interest and a very high profile for cyber, and then nothing. And it's slowly picked up since, but I think if I were being critical of government, it's the leadership issue which is so important, and being clear about what your absolute priorities are with that new money and how to spend it. And I think we're still lacking in those two areas.
The Cabinet Office in Whitehall is meant to be exercising that leadership, but some argue they've failed to act effectively and that much of the money pledged by the government has yet to be committed.
A number of us have asked, why is there this underspend? Some people have come back and said, well, we're saving money for a rainy day, to which my response is, but we already have a rainy day every day with cyber.
Ask where real leadership lies and many experts will tell you it's here at GCHQ outside Cheltenham. Many of the new capabilities unveiled by the government, from the Cyber Security Operations Centre to the Armed Forces Cyber Unit, reside here. The wider security business feels the intelligence people make poor information sharers.
I'm going to talk you through a real example of an attack that we saw, and you can see here that I've got a high number of failed logins coming from Belarus. To me, that looks like suspicious activity because we don't have locations in Belarus, we don't do business.
At RSA, they've developed numerous computer security products. They've also come under attack from hackers and have chosen to share the details with others.
That looks like they're trying to steal some information, perhaps that's on our finance department server. And you can see that a lot of data is already being moved out It's actually going to Uzbekistan, which is not unusual. Typically, a lot of these type of activity we see, it's actually hosted from a third-party country. So
their view is that openness can trump commercial advantage, but the sector is plagued by government agencies and companies that want to conceal their weaknesses.
The threats that I face as a business are different to the threats that you face as a business, and until we start collaborating and sharing that information, I won't be able to learn your perspective, and neither will you be able to learn mine. And I think that's a critical edge that actually doesn't cost a lot of money. We don't really need to increase budgets a lot more to collaborate a lot more in those specific areas, and I think education around the benefits to sharing this information and how to share it collaboratively without compromising your competitive edge is something that we could all focus on a little bit more.
While America has passed legislation saying companies must reveal when they've been hacked, Britain hasn't followed suit. GCHQ's central role doesn't help in the information sharing issue either. They're not used to broadcasting their knowledge.
GCHQ has great technical expertise, and in many ways it's also a thought leader. How it will look in 5-10 years' time, I don't know, but I think you will see GCHQ ever more central in the process, perhaps beginning to own some of the policy making, some of the strategy making. And that will be a challenge for the organisation.
And there's another thing about GCHQ. They, MI6 and MI5, have so far been allocated 59% of the planned government spending, and the agency's primary business is getting other people's secrets.
The Strategic Defence Review and National Cyber Strategy say almost nothing about offensive cyber warfare, suggesting instead that Britain simply wants to defend itself. Yet several people within the ring of secrecy have told us that much of the new money is being spent targeting other countries' secrets, although you can argue, of course, that knowledge gained doing that will improve Britain's defences.
Inevitably, GCHQ will approach cybersecurity through a certain prism, given that it is an intelligence agency. The rationale is to collect intelligence and to be involved in operations. And so you'll probably find that quite a chunk of the new money they were given has gone on sustaining existing capabilities for computer network exploitation or attack. They're not really investing as much in the computer network defense element.
The agencies, and particularly GCHQ, were developing programs to enhance their abilities and to get a really strong grip on global situational awareness. And that those programs benefited very significantly from the new funding that was made available.
That's offensive.
That's not offensive. That's ongoing programs. That's ongoing programs. But if you're going to defend effectively, you have to understand the attacks that will come in against you.
So if the cyber security spend has given a useful boost to the intelligence agencies, how far have defences been improved at all? The MOD has made progress in securing its systems, but many experts think critical infrastructure is still wide open.
There are certain industries within that critical infrastructure who have started to sort of grab the bull by both horns, so to speak, and sort of try and tackle the problem head on. Unfortunately, we are seeing other critical infrastructure organisations still burying their heads in the sand, and maybe they see that the problem is too big, they're never going to fix it, but if you don't start somewhere, we're never going to progress.
Even today, much of the government's cybersecurity spending remains uncommitted. A good proportion of what they have spent has gone on offensive capabilities. While they stress to us that one survey put Britain top of the G20 in cybersecurity, many feel not enough has been done yet to defend Britain's networks.
Overall, our coverage is not as extensive as I would hope it should be, given the push that the coalition made on cyber. And I think the relative lack of investment in defences is a cause for concern.
Francis Maude, the cyber security minister, told us tonight,
Far from abdicating our responsibility on funding, to date we have spent over 1/3 in the first 2 years of the programme. We are on target and in line with our public spending forecasts.
As for leaving a significant proportion of the £650 million unallocated, he said,
"The rapidly changing nature of cyber threats to the UK demonstrates the need for a flexible cyber security response, so we reassess our spending priorities on a regular basis."
3 years ago, the government declared cyber defence to be a vital national priority. Yet you'd hardly think so from the scale of investment so far in protecting this country's computer networks.